Well, from worrying about our health during this pandemic to schooling kids at home or wondering about work and finances, there is certainly plenty to be stressed about these days. But there are also 7 easy ways you can complete the stress cycle. So to join me to explain that is Dr. Brad Schwall. It's good to chat with you again, sir.
Thank you. Good to chat with you.
So first of all, tell me what the stress cycle is.
So the stress cycle is when we allow layers of stress to build up without ever addressing how we can relieve that stress, how we can develop coping skills, but also focus on thriving. And for that, we have to look at every aspect of our lives.
So tell me about the problems that can occur if you don't complete the stress cycle, if you just try to rush through and maybe act like this stress isn't bothering you.
Sure. So really how we can know really does relate to what we can do. So those 7 steps, we're looking at our physical well-being. Are we tired? Are we getting headaches frequently? So then we know we need to address our physical well-being. Our physical well-being is key to our psychological well-being. We also do an emotional checkup. So we know that we're struggling emotionally when we have much worry, when our thoughts are focused on the negative. So the step to managing that stress is to shift to gratitude, to shift to what we can look at that is positive in our lives. With our spiritual well-being, we may feel hopeless. We may feel that we don't have purpose. So we look for that hope. Our relational lives, we know we're facing stress in those lives when conflict increases, when we have more and more disagreements and we're dissatisfied in our relationships. So there we have to step back, assess what's happening outside of us. But on that one, we really do need to look inside. How are we communicating? How are we dealing with those conflicts?
You are president and CEO at the Center for Integrative Counseling and Psychology. Have you seen a pretty severe uptick at the center of folks struggling with stress during this pandemic?
Most definitely. So such an increase in the need for counseling and an increase in awareness about how our mental health impacts our lives. So our therapists and psychologists in counseling in general is focused on coping skills, but also skills for thriving. So those other 3 steps for managing stress that really we do a lot of in counseling are 1, to talk. Merely expressing our emotions can help us to process. 2nd, we do problem solve. We look at what is causing that stress, how we can address it. There are many things that are out of our control. So loss, the loss of a loved one, grieving is something that we must accept. So sometimes that problem solving does involve accepting the problem. And then that final key, that final step to managing stress, that is seeking support. And certainly at the center, we provide professional caring support, but it's so important to reach out to your faith community, to reach out to friends, to make connections. So those 3 keys of talking, expressing, problem solving, accepting what we can't change, and then also finding support. And that's difficult during these times, but we've got to seek it out. Those coming to us do find hope, and that's the good news. Life is never without challenges, but life also is never without hope. And so while the demand is high for our counseling, the hope and the help and the healing that we see is also high.
Well, perhaps now more than ever, that hope very important. Dr. Brad Schwall, thank you as always for sharing your time and your expertise.
Thank you.
All right, I want to turn now to the weather, and boy, a storm